Many Americans suffer from gastrointestinal challenges. The good news is, research has indicated probiotics may help in gastrointestinal health. Dr. Plummer, can you help us understand, first of all, what are some of the symptoms of these gastrointestinal challenges, and how can probiotics be helpful?
Yes, and these symptoms are very, very common now, and everyone will really recognize them. It's things like bloating, increased gas, alteration of bowel habit, for instance. These are things that are very, very common now and increasing dramatically. And they can be caused by, we talked earlier on about disruption of our microbiome. Well, if we get overgrowth of some of these undesirable organisms in our microbiome, they can end up causing increased gas production, for instance. Increased gas causes bloating and causes some of the other effects that we see, or symptoms that we see. Probiotics, again, have been found to be beneficial in this way, in that probiotics tend to produce acid rather than gas, and so by using probiotics you get a reduction in the level of gas produced in the gut, and that leads to a decrease in the level of bloating that the person experiences, and normalization of bowel habit is also often seen associated with probiotic use. So in terms of gastrointestinal health generally, and looking at relief of some of the symptoms that we see very, very commonly now, probiotics seem to be capable of doing a good job.
So that's exciting. There's clinical research to show the support of probiotics in improving gastrointestinal health. What would make a product such as HMF Intensive Probiotic by Genestra different than other probiotics on the market?
Well, I think again, as we were saying earlier on, if there's clinical trial evidence that supports the use of a particular probiotic for the type of condition that the person's looking to have a beneficial outcome in, then that's the probiotic people should use. And we've done clinical trials on the type of gastrointestinal symptoms that we've just been talking about, and we've found that this particular product has been very, very effective.
And how, I imagine this is very important, but how would somebody take this type of product?
And again, the golden rule about taking probiotics generally is probiotics should always be taken with food. And this is just before eating, or along with the meal, or within 30 minutes of finishing the meal. And the reason for this is that if you take probiotics on an empty stomach, the empty stomach is very acidic, and that causes, if you like, die-off of the viable organisms, the viable colony-forming units that are in probiotic products.
And talking about that die-off, can you comment on, should these be refrigerated, not refrigerated? How do we store these?
It's always beneficial to store probiotics in a fridge. What we've got to always bear in mind is that these are living supplements, and just like you would keep yogurt in the fridge to keep it fresh, then you would put probiotics in the fridge just to keep that viable number of colony-forming units as high as possible.
I think that's really important, that viable number. That talks about therapeutic dose, and you also mentioned about foods. Could we get that therapeutic dose? Are foods a good source of probiotics?
Foods, it depends upon the food, and that's a wide area. So if you're taking just, if you like, standard sauerkraut or just yogurt, then no, they wouldn't typically have the intestinal benefits that we associate with a specific probiotic like this. But there are some, if you like, specific probiotic foods that if they have got the evidence, if they've got the clinical trial evidence, then they can be a good alternative.
Are there any contraindications to using a probiotic?
No, and again, keep in mind that probiotics are simply components of our microbiome, so they're there all of the time normally anyway. It's only when we have disrupted our microbiome in some way that we will end up taking probiotics typically. And so they're there normally, so there's no contraindications.
Dr. Plummer, can you talk about the actual therapeutic dose that was used in the clinical trial?
Yes, we use 25 billion CFUs every day for, as I say, a period of 8 weeks. And the product that we used is here. It was this exact product.
The HMF, Genestra's HMF Intensive was the probiotic used in the clinical
That was
trial.
used in this clinical trial, yes.
Ask your doctor or your pharmacist for a good clinically researched probiotic such as Genestra's HMF probiotic products, or visit soroil.com for more information.